Welcome to Coffee, Culture, and the Capital with Sophia and Greg.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Just like we warned you guys last episode, we are going to be diving headfirst into the legislative session this year. You know, last episode, we were kind of saying they just got back to the Capitol. Things are going to start moving soon, and they are moving at the California Capitol. We already have our bill watch list up and running at californiafamily.org. You can see the bills we're watching this year. When we feel like they're attacking our biblical values or supporting our biblical values, we throw them on that watch list. You can get weekly updates via our newsletter. Sign up for that at californiafamily.org. But today we are going to talk about a bill that, I guess I'm not too shocked, Greg, that they're introducing something like this. But just disappointed that they would introduce something so vague, so extreme, all in the same realms. And so, Greg, we have this vague California anti-hate bill that could put biblical beliefs basically like in the crosshairs that just can cause a lot of harm for just our freedom of speech. And so what are we seeing with AB 1578 from Assemblymember Corey Jackson?
Right. Now, this is a kind of bill that confuses Christians because aren't we against hate? Like Jesus warned us that hating someone is like equivalent to murdering them. And so Jesus is not, in the Bible throughout, does not hold hating people as a value. It advocates for other people. So when someone introduces a bill that's called anti-hate training for local and state officials, you would think, well, how can I be against that? Well, it all comes down to how they define hate. And so I just want to read you a little bit about this bill. Here's what it's going to require. It's going to require every state and local agency official would be required at least 1 hour of anti-hate speeching within 6 months of taking office. Now, I'm thinking this is all elected officials. It's a little vague in the bill, but it was just introduced, so we're going to find out the details. But so what would anti-hate legislation include? Well, part of the clue we're going to get is looking at the words of Corey Jackson, who is actually the chair of a committee. It's called the Assembly Select Committee on Racism, Hate, and Xenophobia. And we've been kind of watching this committee that's very concerned about hate crimes. Now, we've all heard about hate crimes. That is when an assault or some act of violence happens, and it is motivated by hatred towards a protected class, right? And so if somebody is, assaulting someone because of a particular religious belief, if they are assaulting someone because they are a part of a particular racial group, or even in California, if you attack someone because they identify as LGBTQ, that's an extra penalty on that particular crime. But when you start going after speech, you start regulating what people say. And so that is where we become concerned, is because how the legislators treat Christian values. They treat them as though we are promoting hate. And we have run into this at the Capitol many times. And we're going to show you a couple of videos where this has happened. I think most recently, as far as the hearing goes, Sophia, you can talk about your experience last year when there was a bill that was advocating for girls-only sports. It was simply saying, hey, when girls play sports, they should only be playing sports with girls and not boys. Now, here in California, boys who identify as girls can play on the girls' sports teams. And we are seeing that happening everywhere. Sophia has been on the forefront of advocating for girls-only sports and girls-only locker rooms. And so why don't you tell us a little about how you were accused of being hateful by a legislator because of your biblical views on sex and gender.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe that we are born male or female. There is no changing that. God didn't make a mistake in the way we were born and made. And so that also relates into the fact that males should not be in female sports, locker rooms, or restrooms, and vice versa. And so, we had Assemblywoman Kate Sanchez introduce AB 89 last year, and this bill simply said that in the high school level, you have to play on the team that aligns with your sex. I mean, it's just simple, straight to the point. And it's just saying, hey, boys are with boys, girls are with girls. And so it was a wonderful day at the Capitol testifying on this. Assemblywoman Kate Sanchez was sitting there as the author of the bill. I was sitting there and testified as a former college athlete. And then a high school athlete who's had to face this was sitting there testifying. And then we had over 100, maybe 200 people there in support of girls' sports. You saw these young female athletes that are in junior high showed up to say, vote yes on AB 89. We had parents, we had brothers showing up saying, protect my sister, vote yes. And it was just such a fun, exciting day to see California show up to the state capitol and simply say, protect girls, protect our daughters, protect me. And then we had Assemblymember Rick Chavez-Zabur. He was one of the members there on the committee, and they're all making their remarks. He went as far to compare what he was seeing today to Nazi Germany in the 1930s, and that he was saddened and disgusted that a bill like this would even be introduced. And so you might think, there's no way someone said that. That's extreme. That's crazy. I want to show you all the video clip of him saying this, because you can tell he truly means it. He's truly bought into this. And somehow girls that want their sports protected are compared to times of Nazi Germany. So let's check out what Assemblymember Rick Chavez-Zabur said to the girls in that room.
What I want to say is, this is really reminiscent to me of what happened in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. We are moving towards autocracy in this country. In Nazi Germany, transgender people were persecuted, barred from public life.
Mr. Gonzalez.
I appreciate my colleagues' comments, but if we can stick to the point.
This is about this. This is about this bill. They were
Mr.
barred
Sabur.
from public life. They were detransitioned. They were imprisoned and killed in concentration camps. And the way that it started was the same kinds of things that are happening in this country by the Trump administration, taking rights away, trying to erase the existence. And I think the thing that I would sort of say is, at the end, one of the things that I was thinking about once I came into this room today, and I have actually spoken to hundreds of parents of transgender kids that are the most vulnerable kids in our school system, and we have a responsibility to look out for all of those kids. On the Holocaust Memorial Museum, there's a quote that basically said, first they came for socialists and I didn't speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for trade unionists and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. What they left out is they came for LGBTQ people and transgender people, and no one spoke out. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Our march towards autocracy and fascism in this country is very real. This is part of the right-wing playbook to get there. And I want to tell you that I am both saddened and disgusted that this bill was brought today, and I will be opposing it. Thank you.
I am both saddened and disgusted that this bill is brought today. What could he be talking about? Oh, we want girls' sports protected. That's what he's saddened and disgusted by. That's what he's comparing us to Nazi Germany about. And so at the end of the day, he thinks what we're saying is hateful. And so, Greg, that kind of correlates back to this bill. There's no set definition. He can sit up there and say, our beliefs are hateful and come after us.
Well, although the bill has no set definition, we know that is what they mean, right? They mean viewpoints that contradict their views on sexuality and gender are hateful and are responsible for any violence done, any terrible treatment done to those who identify as LGBT. That the Christian viewpoints on sexuality and gender are responsible for anything terrible someone might do physically to that community, right? And so that's where we would say, absolutely not. I mean, and so I want to, and so this bill is not about outlawing hate speech, but what it's about is in making officials sit through a training session where they are going to have to taught that they must think one way about sexuality and gender if they are going to be considered not hateful, right? We have all kinds, they're doing this in all kinds of professions. They're doing this with college students through sexual harassment training. They're requiring the same type of acknowledgement. You got to affirm if you're not going to be harassing someone. It's going through the medical community. The medical community all has to take this training. You have to affirm anybody's gender identity as real. Same thing going through education. All teachers now have to take PRISM training, where they all have to use preferred pronouns and learn about Christian views of sexuality and gender are hateful and harmful, right? And so now they're doing it. Now we have local elected officials and the state officials. They haven't received the indoctrination training yet. And so that's what this was about. And I went back through the one of the last hearings that the Committee on Racism, Hate, and Xenophobia had, and I just want you to kind of just to confirm to you that this is real, right? This is what they consider to be hateful and what they want to be stopped, and they're going to use government power to do so. So, testifying before this committee was Tony Hoag. I think I'm pronouncing it right. It's it's Hoang. And he's the executive director of Equality California. And I want to just do a little quote. This is what he testified before this hate committee. He said, across the country, even here in California, over the past several years, we've witnessed a nationwide coordinated campaign targeting the rights, the safety, and dignity of LGBTQ Americans, especially transgender and gender non-conforming people. States across the country have introduced a record number of bills targeting our community. Just this year, President Trump is now bringing his hateful agenda to Washington, directing federal agencies to block access to health care for transgender youth, criminalize healthcare providers, open civil rights investigations into our states like California with trans-inclusive policies, and censor LGBTQ content from classrooms. Right? Now, what is he talking about? What is the Trump administration doing? Blocking access to healthcare? He means stopping the medical transitioning of minors. Stopping kids from being put on puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, sterilizing them, and stopping double mastectomies on 13-year-old girls. That is what the Trump administration is trying to stop. That's what they consider hateful. And then he goes on. He says, the Williams Institute report that LGBTQ people are 9 times more likely to experience violent hate crimes than other non-LGBTQ people. Black LGBTQ individuals facing the highest victimization rates. Trans women in particular, black trans women in particular, continue to experience disproportionate rates of fatal violence for LGBTQ immigrants, right? And so they see all this violence, which is wrong and horrendous. But their solution, they think that the cause of all this is Christian beliefs about gender and sexuality, right? And I just was thinking through this, what Jesus taught us, right? He taught us that we should be able to disagree with people on important topics without hating them in our hearts. Jesus actually said hating people in your heart is as bad as murdering them, right? But at the same time, Jesus calls out sin. And why does he do this? Because he knows sin is not only wrong, it's harmful to us, right? But that calling out sin is not hateful. It's motivated by love, right? And so when we stand up for moral values in society and for traditional biblical marriage and issues related to schools and girls' privacy and issues with sexuality and limiting sex between opposite sex couples in marriage, we are advocating something that we know will be good for people, right? But they have interpreted all those messages and all those laws we're using there, that those are hateful and result in people getting killed. And so the only way to prevent people from getting killed is we must censor, we must re-educate the population to abandon those beliefs and to shame those who still hold them.
And
so that is the problem. And this is not just a problem here in the States, because although we don't have an anti-hate law preventing free speech on those issues because we have a First Amendment, they know they can't go after that. But other countries around the world do not. Mm-hmm. And we have seen in Europe, in Canada, they're actually going after Christians for saying, even quoting the Bible in tweets. And we have an instance here we want to talk to you about. But I want to give Sophia, I just got a long rant there. So do you have anything to add?
No, you nailed it all on the head, Greg. I mean, this bill, the reason we bring so much alert to it is because, like you said, we've seen in other countries, we're seeing directly from the Capitol what they deem to believe is hate. And yes, it is our Christian values. I mean, a little bit of the first time I testified at the state capitol, this was back, I think, in 2022. I said, men don't menstruate. We don't need to put menstrual products in men's restrooms. And sitting state senators, I mean, Senator Scott Wiener and other senators up there told me I was uncollaborative, that I was causing harm, that I was spreading misinformation because I said men can't menstruate. But most importantly, they claimed my comments saying men can't menstruate and only women can menstruate was hateful. And so we bring awareness because this bill could lead to so much more than what it maybe just seems like, just right offhand reading it. And so, like Greg said, we're seeing this play out in other countries. And so we want you guys to firsthand see the video of them talking about this. So let's check that out.
The country's Supreme Court over a tweet of a Bible verse. In 2019, Pav-Evi Rashanan posted this image on what was then Twitter. It shows verses from the first book of Romans regarding sexual sins. As a Lutheran, she was questioning her church's sponsorship of a Helsinki Pride event. Joining us to discuss this case is Paul Coleman, the executive director of the Alliance Defending Freedom. Paul, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Can
you explain the basics of this case and the Supreme Court developments from yesterday?
So the case has been going on now for over 6.5 years. Pav-Evi posted that tweet in 2019. The police then investigated a booklet that she wrote over 20 years ago to her church on marriage and human sexuality. There was another charge as well. The bishop who published the booklet in 2004 was also prosecuted. And so we've had in total something like 13 hours of police interrogation. We've had 2 court hearings involving now the district court, the Court of Appeal, all leading up to yesterday's Supreme Court case. So it really has been a very long ordeal for Ivy resonant, and it all comes down to this criminal charge of hate speech and the idea that the Christian beliefs on marriage and human sexuality are hateful, offensive, insulting, and should be criminalized.
So, Greg, what are you thinking?
Right. Well, it was. I actually met Pavi at a meeting a year and a half ago. She was very gracious, and what a brave woman, right, to speak the truth. And she was simply upset that her own church was promoting a pride event, and she didn't understand how her own church could do this when Romans 1 was so clear regarding the issue of homosexuality. Why are we promoting something that the Bible says is harmful and wrong? And for that, she got charged for hate speech. So now, do I think the California legislature would introduce such a bill? Well, they would in a minute if the courts in our Constitution would let them. But barring that, they have tried another systematic way to shut people up and to make people afraid to express biblical views on sexuality, and that is to have everybody go through this training where they have to. Some of the people, you can't even pass the test unless you parrot back what they believe about sexuality and gender.
Mm-hmm.
And so now this is just another bill that they're actually going to force on elected officials. You go through our indoctrination training while we will shame and test you on our viewpoint. And if you don't, it just kind of, it's like a warning, like your views are no longer acceptable in polite society. So keep them to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as Christians, we would think, what's happening is people are getting led into lifestyles that are harmful to them, and they are being told a lie that their bodies are somehow all wrong and that their feelings are more real than their actual sex bodies. And Christians would in love say, that is harmful and that's wrong, and we have the right as Americans and as Christians to speak up to what we believe to be the truth. And we all need to work at making sure we're doing this motivated by love and not by hatred. I think Jesus would call out anybody who was motivated by animus and hatred towards someone regarding sin. We are all sinners, and all of us are in need of repentance of various sins. And read through the Bible, and all the heroes of the Bible were about standing up for righteousness and encouraging people to follow the Lord. And that's what Christians do, And when a nation follows the Lord, it prospers. And so we are doing this out of our interests. We want society to thrive. So that's our perspective, and we will defend our right to do so. And so, folks, you got to speak up about what your legislators are doing. Mm-hmm. Don't be kowtowed. Don't fall for their fear tactics. All this forced training on you. You don't be quiet about what the Lord believes. Otherwise, if Jesus said, if you're ashamed of me before men, I'm going to be ashamed of you before the Father. So we got to pick and choose here who we're gonna follow. It's either our legislators or the Lord.
Absolutely. And I think too, you might be listening to this right now and you're like, okay, what do we do? What's next? What's going on? And so as of right now, this bill has not been set or voted on in a committee. And so again, visit californiafamily.org and sign up for that newsletter. We keep you so updated once a week in your inbox, but also follow us on social media at California Family Council across Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, because we will give you the action alerts. We will tell you directly who to call, what phone numbers to call, who your state senator is, who's your assembly member. Well, even on bills like this, when we're bringing awareness and trying to get you guys to call your legislators on it, we will give you talking points for how to talk to your legislator to urge them to vote yes or no on certain bills. And so when this bill gets assigned a committee and movement starts happening, we'll be doing that. We'll tell you, here, this is the committee's in, who's to call, what's going on. And we want to make it so simple and so easy for you all to be able to use your voice, and amidst all of your jobs, your family, your social life, everything going on, we want to just break it down and hand it to you to do. So again, go to californiafamily.org, sign up for the newsletter, check out the bill watch list, follow us on social media, and we will do our best to keep you guys up to date about what's going on and how you can get involved about what's happening at the state capitol. But with that, Greg, unless if you have anything else on this bill.
No, I just wanted to conclude that, we're a nonprofit organization that's dependent upon your generosity and donation. So if you believe this broadcast is beneficial to you and you want to see this kind of content continue to go to Christians around the country, especially in California, then encourage you to donate. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you all. And we will hopefully see many of you in person on Monday, March 16th at the California State Capitol for the California March for Life. And so again, head to californiafamily.org. You'll see the California March for Life tab there. It has all the information. If you're coming from Central California or Southern California up to the Capitol, there is a room block for you guys to get discounted room rates at the hotel where all the California March for Life people will be staying. We have so much going on. Check that out because we would love to see you guys all in person. But like Greg said, continue to watch this, share this, and again, we're a nonprofit, so we need your guys' prayers, but also financial support to be able to continue to provide this all to you. But with that, we will see you guys all next time.